If more of you supported the show, I'd be less sick of podcasts.
Grimerica. The blah blah.
Sending out good vibes.
Blah blah.
Good vibes. Good vibes. Good vibes. Good vibes.
108 breaths of deep gratitude and prayers for guidance and protection. And put on a didgeridoo and shamanic drumming track. Shivers or vibrations and stuff like that.
I started on the Weengushk theater group, when I was very young, and was maybe 26 years old when I started the West Bay Children's Theater to introduce theater to the community here.
Okay, guys, welcome back to the Grimerica show. We are going to be chatting with Dr. Shirley Cheechoo a little bit later. Bit of a heavy interview, short one. I think it's only 30 minutes or so, about her time in the residential schools and being a residential school survivor and what she's sort of doing now to try and improve the community and get things back on track over where she's at in Ontario. And then we're going to supplement the short interview with a bunch of, we got some hunting stuff when we were out on the elk hunt. We recorded from the hotel room with the four of us. That's about 20 or 25 minutes. The audio should be pretty good, or not great, but better than, not as good as this, but better than some shows. And we got Graham. I survived the COVID attack Dunlop here.
I survived the hunting trip Dunlop. Barely. I don't know.
Barely.
I think that was worse than the COVID attack.
My thought is that it was worse.
Attack.
My thought is that it was worse than you were letting on at times.
Worse than I was letting on. Than I was letting on. No, I don't think so.
No?
I was letting on pretty good.
You were letting on pretty good.
I mean, I had to. Well, a lot of times I had to just fucking bail down and start breathing, like catching my breath, basically.
And those are pretty light days, really, considering to what it would be like.
Oh yeah,
if you were back to the earth.
Yeah, through dark or whatever.
Or when we do a mountain hunt, and you're like, you're just camping. You're just walking as far as you can and then camping and getting back at it in the morning.
Yeah.
But you survived.
I survived. Yeah. It was, it was crazy. It was crazy. Lots of hiking up and down hills. And
you had to tell us to go on without you a few times.
Yeah. Yeah. On this second portion, which we'll talk about, it was right before you got your kill. I was like, just go without me. I'll meet you at the truck. Don't wait for me. I felt bad. I was just starting to burn out again,
Yeah, man. Well, we walked away, but I mean, it wasn't that far.
Mm-hmm.
But
so this is a good chat with Shirley, though. We get into the 20th anniversary of the Weengushk Film Institute. That's the film institute that I believe she started. And there is I did watch a great film that she made. It was fantastic. It was like about these three ladies getting sort of strung around the law system and abusive cops and people in the neighborhood and all this stuff. It was pretty cool. Very raw and real type film with like real people, actresses and actors kind of thing. But the Film Institute that she says, I mean, it really helps the youth. It helps them learn a whole bunch of skills and abilities. And it's very, important how the arts are communicating issues in our culture, and it empowers these young people. So I think she's really doing an interesting, unique thing for the indigenous community, and everything in general, just bringing awareness to the whole issue.
Totally, I agree.
Yeah. So yeah, can I talk about the hunt then?
Yeah, let's hear your take on it.
Well,
you've had a couple days to ruminate on it.
So this is the second day, because the whole audio that you're going to hear after this is after the first day. So you'll hear all those stories. By the way, did I leave my crystal in the hotel room? Do you got it?
I haven't seen your crystal. No, we did a pretty good scan of the hotel room. We thought, but I didn't see.
I washed it and everything, and I think I left it there. Oh, well, I guess it was meant to be. I guess I wasn't meant to steal it off the army base. Anyways, well, the whole context of this hunting trip will be come out after this here, after we tell this. So this is the second day. We meet up with Darren on the base. It's super windy, right? What do you think? Like 20-mile-an-hour winds, you think? 30?
Probably 20.
I mean, it felt more.
With
more
bigger
than that
gusts. Some of the gusts were crazy. Yeah, it's tough to say. Probably 20, 30
but it was
mile
super,
an hour.
but it was still beautiful for November in Canada. I mean, what, 5-10 degrees Fahrenheit?
It was 13
Celsius.
Sorry.
13 Celsius. So you're sometimes in the shade or the wind and it got a little chillier, but sometimes you're cooking because you're in the sun and you're just hiking around. So anyways, this day Darren is suggesting, like, let's go into the coulees. This is where the moose are going to be hiding because they're not going to be out in the wind. You're not going to find herds in the coulees, I guess, but you're thinking like the ones that aren't in herds. I mean, I don't know where the herds would go in all that wind, but you're thinking like they're going to be hiding out in the coulees. So we go down to this spot that we were kind of familiar with from the first day, and we knew there was coulees to the left of the road and coulees to the right. That sounds like a song.
Coulees to the left and coulees to the right. Here I am. Stuck in the middle.
So we split up, and Darren and I go down. And I mean, it's like you can't even see these coulees from the truck. You can't even see them 100 yards off the road. You can't even see them until you're right upon them a lot of times. And then you're upon them, and it's this huge network of coulees. And then there's one next to it and next to it. I mean, so we're climbing around. So we go down into the coulees. We're going to go, and it just goes on and on and on forever to the river. And we're seeing deer, but we're looking for elk, of course. It's an elk hunt specifically. So we see some
lots of
deer.
antelope.
Yeah.
Not in the coulees. The antelope don't go in the coulees.
Not in the coulees, but, so we go down to the river, and then this is a long journey itself. So I'm already getting exhausted. Like I'm already thinking, oh man, we shouldn't have come down this far. I got to go all the way back up to the truck eventually. That's, hopefully we don't kill something way down here. I'm looking for the other road, thinking, is there a closer exit if Darren shoots something? Anyways, we end up on the way back. What's that?
Maybe we could raft it all the way out to where we could drive the truck.
Yeah.
We'll send you in the raft.
Yeah. Just paddling away, some makeshift flotation device. So we're starting to head back, and we go up this hill to get a better view. And usually you go up these hills thinking you're going to get a better view, and there's just another hill, and it just goes on and on. Like these rolling hills are so deceiving. Anyway, so we see another big coulee. So this is not the one we came down. This is another one that's kind of next to it, I guess. I don't know if it was the next one over or two over, maybe.
I think they all connected by the time they got to the river.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe, maybe down. Yeah. Huh. So I see this big rust color across the coulee. So how would you say?
It looked like Rusty
across?
Meadows 210.
It did. I thought for sure it was some like human made thing, like a rusty frame left there. Cause the army base, I mean, there's like ordnance left around. There's a bunch of oil and gas. What would you call those things again? Those
pump jacks.
There's
there is
some man-made stuff there, right? So every once in a while you see something and it's not natural. So I'm looking through the binoculars. I'm like, I think that's an elk. And then right above it, there's another elk. So there's two elks bedded down in this, maybe like what you were saying, 60-degree slope or something, hiding from the wind and the sun.
Up in the top of the coulee finger, yeah.
So I'm like, Darren, there's those, they're right there. And the one sees me because we're standing there, like we're not hidden. We're standing out in the open all the way across the coulee. So anyways, and I was thinking about trying to flank him, but that would have been like, honestly, by the time you go down the coulee, up the other side, go around, it's probably like a kilometer of hiking. And who knows, how long it would take you to go down and up, and if they're going to still be there by the time you go around. But I was really thinking about flanking them and getting a closer shot. But you're like, well, I can shoot him from here. So super windy still.
Yeah, in retrospect, I couldn't shoot them from there.
Yeah, but I mean, I moved up to this other point, and I think they saw one got up and looked right at me. I think they saw I was trying to hide, but I think they saw the glint of the sun off the binoculars. So, but you had lots of time to set up, right?
Yeah, I got comfortable and shot. I just missed. It was too windy. Yeah. You need two shots so you can see where the first one hits and try to adjust, but They were
Yeah.
up and running pretty quick.
They lumbered away, and then we were trying to figure out where they were going to go, and we were talking, texting back and forth with the guys at the truck, and they were actually watching us from this vantage point, like 2 kilometers away. Probably they saw a lot of us way down there. I don't think they saw that actual. I don't think they saw you shooting.
No,
They must have. Did they hear the shots even?
no, it's too windy.
Wow, that's crazy that they didn't even hear those. So then
They heard the
You know-
last shots, I think.
so they ran across the road too far away from those guys to get them. I mean, we probably could have coordinated that a little better. I probably should have realized that the truck was further to the north, than we thought.
I mean, once they're on the run, it's you can all bets are off.
Anyway, so we tried to sort of go the long way around a little bit to see if we could head them off, like if they came back down this way through another coulee. But anyways, again, we're back to the spot where it's like already, like I'm looking at the watch and thinking, oh my God, it's already 2:00. Like, and the day before we got out of there late because it was kind of a late kill. So I'm thinking, okay, we're almost done here. If we go back to the truck, there's not gonna be much time. And that's when I said, okay, go ahead. Like I was just exhausted. I was like, okay, go ahead without me. And then I hear, once you're a little ways ahead, and then I hear the gunshot again. Boom, boom. I'm like, oh, fuck, here we go. I'm just
Back to work, down
trying
low.
to pick up speed to try and come over to see it. And you're like, yeah, you got your arms up. You're like, yeah, I got it. So I don't know, man. I find it very strange. I said this I don't know if I said this on the Outlawed episode or not, but the way I think about it, the more I think about it, the 3 times I've been with you hunting and the 3 times you've actually killed something on those days haven't been when we see something and we're tracking it or we're following it or we're visually, we know something's there and we're sneaking up on it. All 3 times are when you are walking ahead of the group, intuitively coming across it yourself. I mean, 2 in the coulees on the 2 days on this trip, and then the other time was the moose on your own. Like I think there's something to your intuition or your.
You guys just can't keep up. I mean, you guys will be there if you could keep up.
Yeah, but maybe we won't be in the right spot, or I mean, you're going right to the right spot. I mean, both times you came across, like there was hardly any elk in the coulees, and you came across 2 singles. I mean, that's to me that the only 2 singles that we ever saw in the coulees.
Well, we don't know how many elk were in the coulees.
Yeah, but we never saw any
because there's miles and miles.
We never saw any elk in the coulee except for that day when we saw the 2. No, we never saw one on its own ever. And you came across 2 on its own. I mean, either what are the chances, or you've got some sort of instinct or some sort of,
Could be that, but it's a lot of it's like putting in the miles too. You just like can't stop, just keep going.
Can't stop. You keep going. And eventually,
if I had intuition, I wouldn't have had to walk like 22 miles in 2 days to find them. You just find them, but it's just like getting out of the truck and putting in the miles. Just none in there, go to the next one. None in there, go to the next one. Don't get discouraged. Just keep going. Keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going. Try not to cover the same ground twice.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. I don't know if it's for me.
It's a lot of walking.
It's a lot of walk. Well, once you get the thing in the coulee, both times we had to haul it out.
Well, I'm currently working on a system with some aluminum pegs that you pound in that you could then hook up a winch to pull it up the coulee. And then honestly, if you're uphill, you could just keep pulling that thing out 150 feet at a time and winching it. You probably wouldn't bother. I mean, once you're out of the coulee, it's not bad.
Well, yeah, you had a really cool cart. I mean, the cart was a real lifesaver. If you didn't have the cart,
So if you could just load the cart up and fucking drag it right up the side of the coulee with a winch or a turfer, it wouldn't be bad. Because that's what sucks is you carry it up this 100-foot 60-degree hill, and that's the start. That's the start of the work. And now push the cart fucking 3K.
Yeah.
So if you were like, just turfing and not exhausted by the time it got to the thing, you'd have all your energy to just push the cart. You'd probably make out pretty good. So I'm working on a system. I just want to make it out of aluminum instead of steel, so it's not too heavy.
Yeah, exactly.
Because most of the stuff I kill ends up being in the coulee. Except that moose.
On those hunts, anyways.
gotta
And
carry that shit
you're.
out.
I mean, that's probably the only time you're really hunting in the coulees is on this military base, right?
No, I kill most of my deer in coulees too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
And
down
moose in coulees
south?
too. If you're hunting moose in the prairies, it's gonna be in a coulee probably.
Wow.
Then you gotta carry it out of the
good point.
coulee.
Yeah, good
That's
point.
some motherfuckers getting shit out of the coulee.
Yeah.
But it's not much better carrying it out of the bush. Here's the thing: in the bush, the cart don't work.
Yeah.
Can you imagine trying to use that cart where we shot the moose?
No,
It'd be useless.
Yeah.
So then you just throwing that shit on your shoulder, and away you go. Which is in some ways much, much worse.
Totally.
Because you only had to do one trip when you came. Usually if you're doing 2 or 3 trips.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, if I'd be in any better shape at all, I mean, I would have been fine. I mean, honestly, like this was probably the worst timing in my life for a 15-kilometer hike through the coulees. I mean, really.
2 days in a row. The first day wasn't really through the coulees. It was up all the hills and down all the hills.
Well, the end was
The end was coulee.
the end. I was up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. That's what really killed me. Going up the hills really killed me.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard on everything. I mean, in a lot of ways, it's the ultimate workout, especially when you're carrying something. Carrying something up a crazy hill is hard. I find it worse going down.
Yeah.
It's
I
hard
mean,
on my knees going down those fucking
Yeah.
things. Up seems to just work, or maybe down's when I noticed that I damaged them going up. But it's like I told you. Now you know what a death march is. Not a lot of people know what a fucking proper death march is. And that's not even a proper death march. I guess a proper death march is when people are actually falling off and dying when they're marching you off to some prison camp or something. But that's about as close as you're going to get when you've got a few kilometers to go and you just want to curl up in a ball and go to sleep.
Oh, yeah. Well, I couldn't even keep up to you 3 pushing like 300 pounds of meat in the cart. And on the first day, and I just couldn't keep up to you guys even. I was just like, I wasn't much of a help.
The cart was about 300 pounds on day 1 and about 400 pounds on day 2.
Yeah. But I mean, that's great. We got both days. We got an elk. I mean, I don't know what the success rate was in that because there's about 140 hunters there. I'd say it's about 60%. I'm not sure. 60, 70%, I think.
I don't know. I'm on 100%.
Yeah.
I haven't shot an elk every day I got there, but I got elk every season.
Yeah.
Last year. But now that I walk. So the last year I just drove everywhere. If you just walk in, you got to walk. There's a lot of elk there.
Daily you're at 75%.
They're getting pushed all over the place. If you just get out of the truck and be willing to, I mean, that's the big thing. A lot of people aren't willing to shoot an animal that big 4 or 5 miles from their vehicle.
Yeah,
because it's
well, that's not 4 or 5 miles. That's not fair. 4 or 5 miles. 4 or 5 kilometers. Say. Yeah.
Well, we were lucky this time. I mean, these were close ones.
Yeah.
Last year was much farther. With deer, it's not bad either. They're much lighter. But
so it was a good experience for sure. I'm not sure I'm a hunter.
Maybe a vegan.
I don't know. I might just have to keep that hypocritical middle ground.
Ha! Well, I mean, you don't have to be a hunter. You could always just be a helper.
Yeah, I can just help. I'll help. I'll be the gatherer.
We'll teach you how to gut.
Oof.
That's the worst part?
Yeah, it seems like the worst part. Yeah. I mean, it's good to learn and watch you guys do what you do and really just learn at least those skills. If I ever had to do it, I could probably do it. Worst case scenario, you know.
It's not the worst part. The worst part is dragging it back to the truck.
I don't know.
Once you get comfortable with the fact of being up to your elbows inside something.
Yeah.
But it's not like you're playing with guts or, you know what I mean? There's no, if you do your job right, that all stays as one contained unit, right?
Yeah.
From the windpipe all the way down to the butthole.
Yeah.
If you don't, I mean, you haven't even, wait till you come across something that someone shoots in the gut.
Oh, yeah, right. Oh, yeah.
It's a different fucking situation.
Yeah.
It's a different situation for sure. But you did good. I mean, I thought you'd do worse. I really did.
No, it was a good experience.
You didn't complain.
Did I? Didn't I?
A little bit, but it wasn't like annoying.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't too bad.
I
And shout
could've
out to
done a
the
little bit more
Reverend.
truck hunting.
Of course,
You know,
the
could have
Rev
drove around the truck a little bit more. You know.
and not got any elk. Yeah. The Reverend was there. Of course, shout out to the Reverend. Chad from the chats.
Miles.
Came out with us, and Miles isn't in the chats or nothing, but Reverend's pretty active in the chats. He was out there with us for a couple days. And then Rev and I spent the whole day yesterday duck hunting out at Badger Lake, too. Chasing ducks around. We did some scouting, and then we did some duck hunting.
Awesome.
And now wait for, 350 pounds of meat to come back from the butcher. And then I got to go in 2 or 3 weeks. I'm going to get a sausage deer.
Lots of good comments from our Instagram. People supporting you and people congratulating you. And so you're gonna do. So where are you gonna go in 3 or 4 weeks?
Deer hunting.
So isn't that a little wintry or what? Like what happens in the winter here?
Deer season just opened up a couple of days ago.
Oh man. So what?
My buddy just got his deer last night. I'm gonna wait a couple weeks till the first bit of the season's over and the rush is off. And then, because I haven't taken a deer yet this year, I'm out of sausage now, though. I'm officially out of sausage. So I got to go take a deer because that's what I make sausage out of. I use deer for sausage.
So you just do the whole deer and just make the whole thing into sausage?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. It'll give me about, maybe I'll make a little jerky or something like that. I'll probably take the tenderloins out, but then I'll sausage everything else. And I'll end up with, 150 pounds of sausage, which I'll split with Miles, and then we'll have 75 pounds of sausage each, and that'll get us pretty much through to next fall,
And your kids like that too?
Yeah, sausage is their favorite.
Yeah, nice.
Either that or the
That's
cold
good
stuff. We're having duck
That's
tonight.
good. You can feed yourself through the winter. That's awesome.
That's right. You just got to be comfortable around killing things.
Yep.
So what do you got? You got a quote?
Oh, I do have a quote. Yeah, it's kind of a fun one. I'll see. I'd
funny?
really love to know if you can guess this. No, it's not funny. No,
Oh.
not at all. But you'll like it because you probably agree with it, and it's a little deeper than you would expect from this person.
It's the
Profound quote of the
week. Darren, can you guess it? It's the profound quote of the week. Can you guess the human who spoke it or wrote it down?
This is good. This is a while ago too. So ready?
Yes, sir.
The press is manipulating everything that's been happening. They don't tell the truth. They are lying. They manipulate our history books. The history books are not true. It's a lie. The history books are lying. You need to know that. You must know that.
Alex Jones.
No, I'll give you another chance.
Another chance?
Yeah. Pop star?
Pop star? The one who thinks it's flat? I don't know much about pop
From a while
stars.
ago?
What?
From a while ago?
Britney Spears?
No. Close. That was a good guess. She's probably on board with that.
Is it the one that's always shaking her titties around? I don't know any pop stars.
No, it's a
bro.
guy.
It's a guy.
Yeah.
Justin Timberlake?
If I'm allowed to gender him when he's not alive.
Yeah, you don't. Oh, he's dead?
Yeah.
Kurt Cobain.
No, another good guess. Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson? MJ?
Yeah.
Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
He has some good songs. I like the one with Thriller. Bam, 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 bam.
That was my first concert, actually.
Was it? I see a bunch of people died at a concert the other day.
Yeah, they called it what'd they call it again? A
Mass casualty event.
Mass casualty event.
Wonder what happened. Maybe it's not a good
It was
idea.
a satanic. It was a satanic sacrifice.
Maybe it's not a good idea to get in around all that bass music after you get shot.
I just had the ringing in my ear too.
But yeah, I've seen some weird shit from that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's a good idea to cram 50,000 people into place and get people. You know, it's just oof. When you're moshing and stuff like that. This fucking cat is just too much.
Yeah.
Too many people.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, when I was banging, it was always like a big concert's probably more like 15,000. I mean, there's no control at 50,000 people. Holy fuck.
Is that how many were there?
Yeah, 55,000 people.
That's like a full stadium.
Like yeah.
I haven't even heard of this guy.
Me either, but we're pretty.
I mean, I'm so old and out of it. I mean, I'm just an old
out of
man
touch,
with the
out of
music,
shape.
with the music especially. Like
You're coming a bit curmudgeon-y as you get older too.
Oh
so-
yeah, yeah. I couldn't even wait till my 60s before I turned curmudgeon-y.
It's a rough go.
Oh, I was listening to like 80s music on the way to the hunt or on the way back a little bit.
You were with Miles?
Yeah, a little bit.
Miles let you throw on some 80s tunes?
Some rock, yeah. I was getting him to guess the years. Some of that Def Leppard stuff's like 1970, dude. Black Sabbath was from No, Leopard was 1980, like 79, 80. And Sabbath was 1970.
What has 7 arms and sucks?
Def Leppard.
That's right. I think I've told that joke on the show before, actually. Anyway, what else you got?
That's it.
That's it. We're done.
Yeah. Yeah, we're done.
Little short episode. We had to get this Cheechoo one figured out. Then next week we'll have who's up next week?
I mean, I do have
Meredith?
I do have some stuff to read from some listeners if you want.
You want to read?
I can read something out.
Like a social media thing or an email?
Yeah, social media thing. Yeah.
We haven't used that jingle in a while. Show notes, jingle, gem trails, support. Well, what? Oh.
Bingo, bango, social media jingle. Don't forget to rate, comment, and or subscribe to the Grimerica newsletter. Bingo, bango, social media jingle. Don't forget.
Well, I think we got to get that newsletter back on there. Got to talk to your website guy that took off out of Canada.
Yes, he has fled the country.
Smart man. Okay, so this is from our chats. This is from Brad. He's like, "Hey Graham, this is the Graham from the show, I'm assuming. LOL. I just want to thank you deeply for your show and the work you've done. It's kept me company many hours at work. It's set me on a path of self-improvement and made me feel not so alone as I've been a lifelong seeker in a world of sheep. I've listened to the Coast to Coast since I was 12 and I'm now 39. It's been difficult to find people into the same interests. It's really hit me hard as my kids are in their teens now and don't want to hang out with their dad all the time anymore." That's funny. It's the second time I've heard that in the last 2 days. So you guys have really helped me keep company. Something you might find near is I'm from Dewdney, BC, just outside of Mission. I'm sure you know it. My family owned the Dewdney General Store for 50 years. So of course, I've been to that store many times. You might have stopped in and bought some beef jerky or pepperoni as it was legendary. You are from Maple Ridge, right? I figured you must know Dewdney and must have likely been to the store. I also have a connection to Darren, as I've been a worker as an underground miner for the last 16 years. I've worked all over Canada and even in Red Lake, Darren's hometown. Pretty cool, I think. Anyway, I just want to thank you for your excellent work and the awesome community you've built. It's really helped me through the hard times more than you'll ever know. I listened to Outwitting the Devil yesterday at work. Fucking great common sense stuff. Should be mandatory reading in school. Today, I just bought Secret Teachings of All Ages, narrated by you. Stoked, can't wait to listen at work. Much love, brother. Nothing but good vibes.
Good.
So that's awesome. So speaking of the audiobooks, yeah, we just got a couple more released, right?
ISIS Unveiled.
ISIS Unveiled and Ancient Religion of the Chinese. Little book there. talking about the genocide in the early 1800s. It's not really in the official timeline at all, amongst other things.
And a bunch of Helena Blavatsky stuff. We got all the secret doctrines and all that great stuff. Hamlet's Mill, big one, Hamlet's Mill. And check all that stuff out. Adultbrain.ca. Support this show, too. It's not a free show. It's a value for value show. We put in a lot of effort, a lot of hours, a lot of money, a lot of everything. And if you're getting a little value back from the hopefully value we're providing, head over to grimerica.ca/support today, right now. Sign up for a monthly, $1 a month, $2 a month, $10 a month. You decide. Maybe you want to make a one-time donation, make up for lost time. Do that as well over there. You can send cryptos. You can do all sorts of stuff. You buy my book over at acanadianshame.ca. I mean, you can check out grimericaoutlawed.ca. Sign up for the Plus show over there. But do something to support the show because, you know, we're trying to do this as a full-time gig. Graham is doing it as a full-time gig. And we need you now more than ever.
And we really appreciate it because we couldn't do all this without you guys supporting this show. We really appreciate it.
We couldn't do it without you, motherfuckers. We love you guys. Become one of those people that we couldn't do without. We couldn't do without any of you, really, but we could even less do without the people who support. But that's enough of that. Enjoy this little hunting blurb. Hopefully the audio is not too bad. It is recorded in the hotel on a laptop with a Yeti with 4 people. And man, we trash that hotel room when it comes to not in a party sense, but in a having
Gore
hundreds
sense?
of pounds of raw meat in the bathtub and stuff like that. But we ate good. We definitely ate good.
Yep.
Some nice fresh tenderloin, stuff like that. We had some steaks the first night. All right, guys, enjoy the little blurb. And then, of course, enjoy the chat with Dr. Shirley Cheechoo. Take 4. Welcome back to Grimerica. A little bonus segment here. We don't know quite what we're going to do with this yet, but we're out hunting right now in Medicine Hat at the Suffield Air Base. We got Graham here, of course, and Miles and Chad are with us too. So we figured we'd record a little ditty to talk about our first day out on the base and how that went.
While it's fresh.
Well, it's fresh. We had to get up super early in the morning. We left around 3:45 or 3:50 this morning to get out for orientation, which took 3 hours. Probably could have taken 45 minutes.
Yeah. Smooth as silk.
Smooth as silk, yeah. So what'd you guys think of...
Well, I mean, for my first impression of the actual operation, I mean, it was very interesting, right? So this base, this huge base, just for a little bit of context, it's this Canadian Forces base. It's like 53 kilometers by
67 or something.
Yeah,
like
by
that.
67. I mean, it's actually just a massive
prairie.
2,300 square kilometers.
Yeah, 3,500. Square kilometers.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's all like prairie and grasslands and rolling hills, and there's a river there. But
so
I mean,
everyone thinks the prairie's flat till they get out there.
Exactly. It's a trippy terrain. It's a trippy terrain. It's very strange. So anyways, they work with the environmental people or the animal. What do you call them?
Fish cops.
The fish cops, because they're overrun by elk. So they have this hunting program every November. They get a whole bunch of hunters in there with tickets and tags, and they go through this whole orientation thing. And you got 2 or 3 days to just go out on this base and just kill elk. So the orientation, so there's a huge parking lot of trucks. There's about 150 trucks, maybe 150, 200 trucks, right?
140 hunters max.
140 hunters max. So we're all sitting in our trucks listening to this FM station for this orientation, and it took 3 hours today. I mean, it was grueling.
It was pretty grueling.
Yeah. 3 hours of FM.
Someone got arrested.
Someone got arrested for. I mean, they're very serious about no alcohol, no weed.
What did he get arrested for?
Cannabis.
Smoking grass.
Yeah.
But I mean, we were told in the orientation multiple times
on an Army Air Force base.
Yeah, it was pretty
Come
interesting.
on, dude.
I mean, that probably slowed things down by about 20 minutes or so, probably.
We took.
And it was also 6 in the morning.
We used vapes so as not to.
Doesn't stink,
and technically might be okay. I don't see anything about cannabis vapes in the rules.
So yeah, interesting start, and then we go off in the truck and start looking for elk, driving around, with a map and trying to avoid other hunters, or maybe just. I mean, it was a very interesting experience.
We drove till about noon, I want to say.
Yeah.
Then he got out and started
Then the
climbing
rest of the
hills
day
and
was
looking.
walking. And
We
then
found
we
that one
walked.
big shell.
What's that?
We found that one big shell too. Remember that big
Oh,
shell?
like
that
an
stuck-
unexploded organ.
Yeah.
I found one too.
You're like, what's this? Yeah, don't touch that. Stay away.
And I found a couple like circles that were clearly like old explosions.
Yeah. There's a few of those, wasn't there?
That's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good time. We all walked. Oh, well, I did 20K almost, or in around. So we were all in around 15 to 20K.
Yeah, at first we didn't think we'd be walking too much. We're driving around, and then all of a sudden you get out and you just decide like, hey, we're gonna take a look. We thought we saw an elk over here. Let's take a look over this hill. And then there's
There's a
nothing
higher
over
hill.
that hill. There's a higher hill, so you walk a little further and you walk a little further, and all of a sudden you're like miles away from the truck. I mean, it's crazy the way it happens. I mean, it's so deceiving, the landscape here.
Deceiving, that's the right word.
You can hide behind a hill and be right near somebody. So elk can be right around the corner from you and you don't even know it, because they're in these valleys and hills. There's valleys and ravines.
Well, I must have
and
walked
coulees
right by.
everywhere. Yeah.
I must have walked right by that dozen elk.
You had to walk right
no,
by
no,
the
no,
I,
no,
shoulder.
no,
I, was,
no,
I
no.
had like turned around and I was on my way
No,
back.
no.
Or did I go a different
Yeah,
route?
you were. They were coming. They were still coming up. So I mean, the best thing that happened, I think, today was we were driving around. So we drove through that whole area that we were allowed to hunt in. So we had a special card, or a tag for the southern wildlife area,
Yeah.
and we didn't really see any elk. But on our way back from that, these guys all spotted a herd of elk, and I didn't see them, but you guys were pretty sure there's a herd of elk up on the hill, and we were trying to figure out what ravine it
Super
went
far
over
away,
again.
yeah.
So does it go over the far ravine, or is it tucked into a ravine? What if it was in the ravine that you ended up shooting that elk in?
No,
It
that
was
was a
around that
different one.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it
it's
should
so
have
far
been.
away.
I mean, the second time around, it's hard to tell where the fuck you are or where you've been. But I think it looked to me like the first herd was mostly cows and a couple of bulls.
Yeah.
And the last herd was mostly bulls and a couple of cows.
Yeah.
The ones that ran past Miles.
The ones that almost ran
paraded,
over
yeah.
Miles.
Ran over, yeah. Like,
So
stones
That
throw
was
away.
Graham's spot.
Yeah.
So we thought that we had to go and we had to stay on the road. So we went all the way past to the first road that we could actually turn on to get past this herd, and then we'd have to go way past where the herd would have turned, cut into
gotta
a
intercept
ravine
them.
or over the hill or whatever, and then we had to cut back to try and figure out like where are they now, and then so we ended up.
And there's
We ended
5
up walking-
kilometers in between those two roads.
And there's 5 kilometers in between those two roads. So we picked what did we do again? We picked a spot and we started walking and we were just scouting the whole area out, and then we ended up going a little bit further, and I was thinking, Darren, this is where we have to go. Like where you were walking, Darren was way ahead and I was next, and you guys were kind of
We were way behind spotting scopes.
using the spotting scopes. But I was thinking in my head, I'm like, this is Darren we have to keep going this further to catch them if they came this way, right?
It's always further than you think.
Yeah. And we walked and then I mean I got to tell this part of the story because I found this quartz crystal on top of this rolling hill, and I pick it up and I wash it off, and I'm like, and I can't remember if that's
How'd you
before
wash it off? With
just
spit?
on my pants.
Oh.
So it was pretty big, like it's a few inches by a few
Did you
inches.
keep it?
Was, yeah, I kept it. I know. Don't say anything. I mean, maybe it was programmed by the base and it's a trap or something.
I'm gonna
We'll edit that out.
I'm gonna get Graham's gonna get arrested in orientation.
For
tomorrow
stealing
morning.
a crystal from the hill. But
Take it down.
but I was thinking like
That was the power crystal, powering the whole thing.
I said a little bit of a prayer to the Great Spirit, and I was like, help us, or allow us to sustain ourselves for the winter by shooting this elk. And there's too many of them anyways. Or I said some sort of weird prayer. And then I was in this sort of area where I was falling. Darren was probably about 500 yards away from me, and I was on this sort of long sloping hill. And I thought I saw an elk on the hill running, and it was running, and I was trying to get Darren's attention a lot. But I guess supposedly
You
it
were
was a
yelling.
mule.
Yeah,
Was
yeah.
it
You were
I was yelling. Yeah, I was yelling. I yelled a little bit. I mean, you had to. Like, how we got to get better at our
We need a
communication.
better system.
We need a better system. But anyways,
It was like Nam.
they were spotting, and so, but I guess it wasn't. Was it not a?
Well, one of them was the first one was a deer. The lone one was a deer.
You sure? Eh? You're sure? Because it was huge. I thought it was. I thought it might have been at the
No,
back
mule
end.
deers
of an
get
elk.
big too.
Yeah.
Anyways, then I spotted like literally a row of racks coming up the hill. Like that's the way I first spotted it. Was there's all these racks.
That's probably what scared the deer.
Well, that's why. Yeah, that's why I thought it was actually like an elk scout or something like that. But anyways, then all of a sudden the heads come up and the body, and there's like 12 of them. I'm trying to count them, and I'm like waving at these guys, like trying to get yelling. I'm like, because I didn't know you knew that they were there. I thought you saw one, and I'm like, Darren, it's the whole herd. I'm just yelling, it's the whole herd, and they're staring at me. I'm like, how far was I? 300 yards?
You were
500
probably
yards?
500 or 400
Probably
yards.
400 yards away. They were all, and they just stopped standing there staring at me. So then I sensed that I got Darren's attention. I was trying to get the other guy's attention so that they would go around, Miles would go around and catch, like sort of envelop them. And we weren't ready because we thought we were just scouting actually, right? Didn't we?
Yeah.
This time, right?
I only had
You
4
only had
bullets.
five, yeah, you only had
Yeah,
five bullets. You ran out of shells.
because you kind of think, well, we're going to go look over this ledge and over this hill, and then you end up just going and forgetting that you should have got fully ready for a kill.
Bipod. I didn't have my rangefinder. I literally only had my rifle.
And Miles didn't have his gun out at the time either, so
My gun had its trigger lock on. It was still zipped up. It was unloaded. Like I was just wandering around out there.
Elk ran by
Just
you,
looking
fingering
around.
you on the way.
There was a rock there I was trying to sneak up to, and I was going to shoot off it.
How close
but then
did you
they
make it
started
to that?
running. I was
I
probably
heard-
like 175 yards out.
no, how close to the rock did you make it?
10 yards when they started running.
I was looking at those
and then all I
cows
can
there.
do is sit down or like
Yeah.
go down on one knee and try and, but it's a tough shot. It's still a tough shot.
So I mean, I had the fucking amazing vantage point where I was watching Darren sneak up to them on the left and watching Miles go around the other side. And
I heard him shoot. That's what made me turn around.
Yeah.
Originally.
I shot over.
Then realized, oh shit, I'm not ready here. And then all these elk are coming towards me.
Yeah.
They were
So I'm
might have been
scrambling,
closer
trying to
than
get-
I thought
put-
because I
put
shot
them
over their
together.
back.
Yeah. Anyways, we missed that herd. I mean, they got away somehow, and we tried to chase them down.
I scared them away. I was right below a ridge where they couldn't see me, and I popped my head up, and one saw me, and then boom, they all ran.
Because I was
off.
watching them going straight towards Miles. I was all excited, like they're gonna walk right up to Miles.
Oh yeah, because I came running up the hill and I could see Miles here and the elk here.
I
They're all
thought
just
you were gonna massacre him.
Yeah.
I couldn't get a shot. As soon as I popped my head up, they saw me and started. They went right around me and then up the ridge.
I was too far. I was like 350 at that point to be sailing shots over the road, but it was good.
Yeah,
me.
that
And
was
then
good.
we went for another giant walk.
So was it right after that, Ben, that we went?
Well, we went down because
We were trying to
Look for
track
those
them.
cows.
the one
That's what I
had
was originally looking at.
Yeah, the one had split off, and we weren't sure if it was because one of us had hit it. So we went to see if we could find it, and we couldn't.
He was like a junior, kind of no rack, and he was trailing way behind the herd, and I guess he got separated from him.
Yeah, but he was fine. So, and then we turned around, and then we just went past all those other vehicles and pulled over again because these guys thought they had seen those cows there.
And by this time, it's like we've probably been like 10, 15 kilometers in the grasslands. I'm exhausted. Like I got stuck going up and down a couple of ravines that I didn't know were there because you can't even see them.
Yeah.
I thought there was one. I was like maybe 500 or 1,000 yards north of or south of you, Darren, and I was like, I'm just gonna check out this whole scenery over here because you can't see it from there. And the next thing you know, there's 3 ravines between us,
And then you're left with the decision.
and I can hardly make it out.
I just
Walk
go
all
down.
the way around flat or go up and down and
I
up
just
and
go
down,
down
and up and down.
man. Every time, down and up. You just run.
No, I know, but
Run down.
Run down, and you use that momentum to get up the
But
other
you're not
side a
like
little
as
bit.
out of shape as I am right now. So I barely. I mean,
No
and I
country
caught up
for
to
old
these two, and I was exhausted. I mean,
You almost didn't make it out.
that was way before. I mean, that was fucking 5 or
that
7
was-
kilometers before the end.
Might have been 10.
Oh, I thought I can't do this.
Almost had to pack us up.
I'm not going to make it.
Well, that was you. You walked way more than we did.
No,
we would stop and watch you. Okay, he's going over there, so we'd kind of like veer over that way instead of like doing Darren's entire line. Right? We're just okay.
But when I met up with you guys.
He was trying to keep up, but it was just every time I looked back, he was further back, and then one time I looked back, he was just gone.
That's probably when I was down the ravine trying to trudge my way out of it.
Yeah.
But then when I met up with you guys had seen this mega herd.
Yeah, but it must have been 200 of them.
Wow.
Far away though.
Yeah.
Because that scope you're looking through is like you can see.
I saw. Yeah,
miles,
I was like,
right?
yeah. I saw this black patch, and I was like, what the hell? Get the scope out and look at it. Like, holy shit, there's the mega herd.
So my take in the prairies is it's just all in miles, man. You guys got to travel.
Yeah.
They could always be over the next hill. You can't really wait for them out there. It's not like watching a clearing in the woods.
You think you can see, but you
they're
can't
gonna come,
see.
but they could be fucking right over the next hill. So
even when we were driving around, I noticed that I looked back, I could see a different scope of the ravines between the hills.
And sure enough, just wandering around, and bam, there's a fucking elk down in the coulee.
And that's how you caught that one?
Well, I see it. I didn't see it. I didn't expect him to be there. I was on my way to someplace else because I actually seen a couple antelope up by the whatever they're called, the oil thing. And so I was like, well, maybe the fucking elk are up by those antelope. We see them kind of close together before. So I was heading up to go over that hill. And fucking the coulees have all the side forks off them. So it's like, down fucking a 60-foot hill and then up a 60-foot hill. And I was like kind of sick of doing that. So I was kind of going so I could just go down like 20 and into the swells. And I was going around there, and just out of the corner of my eye, I seen a fucking big, not a big one, but a decent size. It was a 5x5, 10 point bull elk down there. And I didn't think he'd see me, so I just dropped because I wasn't prepared. My gun was strapped on my back. And so I dropped, waited, got my shooting stick out, got my gun over my shoulder. And then by the time I looked, he was running around the corner at the bottom of the coulee.
Like he went back down, kind of?
He was kind of up in the swell, and then he ran down into the deep part of it.
And turned around.
And went out of sight around the corner.
Yeah.
Heading east. So then I ran down into the swell, came up the other side, and I can't see nothing down in there, but there's only like 2 ways out. And he's coming out. And if he doesn't come out in a couple minutes, then I'll just creep over this hill, and he's down in there. Like there's no other way out. Or he's going to come back where I can see him this way.
Yeah.
And sure enough, he came out the far thing, came running out that way. And I got a shot at him running and hit him in the leg. So then he stopped running. Like I fucked his leg up. Yeah. And he stopped running. And then I got another shot at him. And he fucking ran off.
I know, but he was standing there. Like we were watching. I was like watching this now.
Well, I thought he was going to go down.
We finally caught up to you a little bit. And he's standing in, I don't know, like just on the top of the hill in a way. And I thought, what's he doing standing there like that?
I thought he was going to go down.
And then he bolted.
With three legs.
I mean,
only 3 legs.
Hey.
That poor thing, like his one leg was just dangling there.
Well, then I couldn't find him. So then I ran, find him, and it was just a miracle. So this is a weird thing. Like I ran over to that other spot, and I'm like, he's probably only heading downhill. So I headed over to that other coulee off to the left. I mean, it's just coulees all over the place. I mean, this is the thing. I mean, you'd think you could fucking in a prairie, you could find anything. You could hide a dump truck any place out there and you won't find it. I could hide a dump truck out there. It would take you guys 3 years to find the fucking thing. Unless you have air.
Yeah, if you get up high, then you can see anything.
If you had a drone or a plane, you'd find everything right away. But when you're on foot or on a truck, it's...
Oh, the perspective changes. Like every 10, 20 feet, the perspective changes.
So I ran over to that other coulee, and of course, I don't have my binoculars this time, or my pack, or my knife, because I've left it with Chad again. Oh. And because we weren't going to separate, but here we are separated. I get going, man. When I'm going, I'm gone. It's best if I just have all my stuff on me. And so I was there looking around, and I was like, he's fucking gone. I mean, I don't know where the fuck he went. And then there was like a bunch of blood, too. And I was like, I don't know how the fuck this thing got away. So I was looking around that other coulee, and I like was looking for probably a minute, maybe almost 2 minutes. Like, where could he have gone? Should I go back this way? Should I go that way? And then right up at the top of the coulee where I've kind of walked past, but I was over on the other side of a ridge, so he might not have seen me. I wasn't even sure if it was him. It just looked like a brown and black patch. And I was like, fuck, that might be him. And the second I thought in my awareness that after I've been standing here for fucking 2 minutes, as soon as I thought in my awareness that might be him, fucking poof, he gets up. And I'm looking at him and I'm using my rifle scope because I don't have the binoculars on me to see if it's him or not. And then, so maybe he's seen me lift the gun up, but I don't think they're that smart. You know what I mean? It really seemed to me like the second I was like, there he is, he was like, oh, fuck, he sees me.
Yeah.
And fucking, I'm just thinking it. Maybe I shouldn't have thought it. But anyway, I seen him and then he gets up and he fucking runs. And I try and take a shot at him while he's running. I think I hit him that time too, because when I found him finally, he'd been shot in the neck and he was full of blood.
Yeah.
I don't know how the fuck he ran 3 kilometers. 2 miles full of blood, but he did. And it was just a miracle that it, because then I chased a deer. You guys thought he went one way. And then I was going on your guys'
because you're watching this from like a kilometer or 2 away and you can't tell.
Yeah.
They just disappear over a ridge.
Yeah.
And you're like,
and I'm like
right
400 or 500 yards
down?
behind him chasing him. And you guys were up on the hill. So I'm like phoning Graham and texting Graham. Where'd he go? So you guys thought he went the one way, and I got into that valley, and everywhere I looked at, you guys thought he went was uphill, and not just like a little hill, like a significant 30-degree hill, and I was like, there's no way. I actually seen some antlers, but there's so many sheds everywhere. So I walked over to a set of antlers beside a rock, because I was like, oh, he's down. Here he is. Fuck, not him. And then just out of the corner of my eye, more antelope ran by. And out of the corner of my eye, I see a brown thing run past over. And I was like, fuck, that must have been him. And that's when I texted you. I was like, I think I see him. I think he's over this way. So I ran back that way, ran around, ran over, like running now. I'm running because I don't want this fucking thing to get away. He's missing a leg. It's my responsibility. And then I got over there, got over in the coulee, and I could see it going down. And I get the scope on it, and it's a fucking mule deer. And you can see it's hopping. Ding, ding, ding. So at that point, I about gave up. And I was heading back to find you guys. And I was going to go around the long sort of inside way, where I thought the road was close to. Clearly it was
No,
not.
there was a whole other ravine in the way there. A whole other set.
I still think we could have maybe kept coming down that road further. It's hard to know. It's hard to know. And when
keeps going.
it's getting
That's it.
dark.
Graham said that the coulee just keeps on going.
Yeah, he walked way down there looking, and he's like, I don't know.
I don't want to
There's
keep
no end to
doing
it.
that.
You don't know where you are. You've been running around.
Who knows
and,
that coolie's going around turning you the wrong way.
So at that
right?
point, I text you, and I was like, I think you guys are right. He must have went that way. I think I've been chasing a deer. And I just happened to, I was walking along the edge of the coulee, another coulee, the third coulee now. Actually, it was a fork of the one I've seen the mule deer go into. And I seen some blood down there. So I'm like, I'll fucking go back and check around this corner one more time. Because you could see, from the top of the hill, you could see blood in the grass. And I went over and looked, but there was just a little hill there. And then as soon as I went around that corner and peeked down, he was there. And he was pretty slow moving by that time. I could have probably waited, but I was sick of fucking, I didn't want him to run again. I had already thought I had lost him a couple of times. So then I just put him down.
Right at the bottom of a ravine.
That was the shitty thing, but I was like, I thought of it because I've pulled things out of coulees before and it sucks.
It's no fun.
And, but I'm looking and he's headed just deeper down the coulee. So I'm like, well, I feel like it's fucking now or never. So I just shot him there, took out his lungs. And, so he took a neck shot and a fucking took out a leg shot, a devastating leg shot, and finally went down in a lung shot. And then, of course, where are we? Where's the road?
Where's the truck?
Where's the truck? Where's the road that the truck's on? So then we got to make the decision to send someone back to the truck. Graham or Chad were going to go. In retrospect, like I was saying, I'm glad Chad went.
Oh, I don't know if I could have made it.
Maybe I underestimated your wilderness abilities, but I was really concerned that you just like...
My stamina was at risk.
Yeah,
not my wilderness.
You were done. Yeah.
So you think like from an
orientation perspective?
You could have got there.
Yeah, I feel like I got a pretty good handle on where we're at and where things are.
Yeah, because you can get turned around pretty quick.
Yeah.
But the sun setting, that helps.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really help because you're dealing with an elk and the fucking sun setting. And it's like new moon right now. New moon, dark sky. So, I mean, me and Chad were driving back and it got dark. We were like,
And we had to be back at a certain time by 6 o'clock. You have to go through this whole exiting process.
Rigmarole.
Like they search your truck on the way in. They search your truck on the way out. Cops are there to do it. They have like all the army personnel. Or I keep saying army, but it's the Canadian Forces personnel. I don't know what like department they belong in or whatever. I guess maybe it is army.
Probably
you wouldn't want to be out there if it got dark.
No.
Yeah. So we had to call. I called them a couple times, tell them, hey, we're running late. That's what they asked us to do if we're running late, and they're totally supportive. I mean, they're very amenable to all our needs.
Yeah,
really. They're pretty good.
And that was that. So then,
then we had to haul it all.
Then we
had
had to haul it
up the ravine, out of the ravine.
What do you think that was? 2K?
Back to the.
When I scoped you, you're 1,400 yards.
Oh, where I parked the truck when I went to go get it.
No, when I first seen you, when I was on top of the fucking oil head waving at you.
Yeah, that was.
When I scoped you, then you were 1,400 yards.
Oh, he was almost there at that point.
I figure it was halfway.
No,
about halfway.
Not even.
Because he was still on the far side of that coulee we went around. Because he just went down and came up.
That's where I parked the truck, and then I had to go for another 2 miles back to where it was parked on the road.
It was probably, I'm guessing it was 2.5K back.
And I couldn't even keep up to you guys with your 500 pounds of meat on the cart. You guys were pushing and pulling a cart. I mean, I helped a little bit, but I couldn't help. I mean, I couldn't even keep up with you guys. I mean, I just about didn't make it out.
I ran ahead. After all that, I ran ahead to get the truck so I could pull it up and head them off.
I couldn't do it.
And then ran up the hill to take.
I don't even know how. I don't even know what's going to happen now. I mean, I'm like I feel like a brick. Like I'm just stuck.
Well, I mean,
everything is sore. Everything, my legs, my head,
now it's
my
10
back.
after 11.
Maybe the hotel has a massage person.
We're gonna eat some potatoes and go to bed and get up in about fucking 6.5 hours and go do it all again.
Yeah.
I'm going to take this one to the butcher in the morning and then meet you guys out there.
Yeah, I have a plan. Drive. No walking. Take the 4x4 tracks. Go to the whole open area and use the 4x4 tracks.
If you can get up onto hills, I can oversee things, and then you're willing to walk. That's the thing.
You're only allowed on the 4x4 tracks if you're going to
extract.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really? You're not allowed to hunt from them?
No, hunting is walking, dude. It's not
okay, but
driving.
even still, we say
truck hunting is great, but it's really
we save 2 kilometers of,
or it's mule deer.
Yeah,
I mean,
elk don't hang around.
We save
the
2 kilometers
too
of ripping it back to the truck if we can use those 4x4.
That would make a big difference.
Especially if
I mean, I gotta say, like in the end, I was like, fuck, I should have just told them to drive the fucking truck over here, but they'd bust you.
Oh, for sure.
So yeah, you're not allowed on. You're only allowed on certain roads, like the main sort of dirt roads, which are awesome dirt roads, but you can't take there's all these 4x4 trails that the Army has, but you're not allowed to go off those.
Just in
certain areas. In the area that we were in, you're not allowed to use those. So. Anyways, it was quite the experience, yeah.
We came back and cleaned up a bunch of the meat in the hotel bathtub.
Yep.
And fried up some steaks.
Crime scene.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna have some potatoes and go to bed.
And shut her down.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Maybe we'll do this again tomorrow. We'll see how tomorrow goes.
Hi, Dr. Shirley Cheechoo. Thanks for joining us. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great to Great to talk to you. It's an important year this year, a 20th anniversary, right, of your film festival?
Yeah, 20th anniversary of the Weengushk Film Institute. The festival is only like 3 years old.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, that's good. Let's talk about that a little bit and about your journey through, through approaching some of these topics through film.
Okay.
You're a residential school warrior yourself, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which school did you go to?
I went to several schools. I didn't just go to one school. I went to 4 of them.
Wow.
Did you notice, like, was there a big difference between the different, were they sort of like, was it a top down sort of management style, or was each school its own experience?
I think each school was its own experience, but they seemed to have the same rules, and that went with each one of them.
So just so our audience can catch up, we're doing another show about residential schools and stuff like that, all the atrocities that were taking place from the government and, of course, the church over the years. And we've got Dr. Shirley Cheechoo here. So which schools, we don't have to say exactly which schools, but what province, were they all in the same province, and what the time frame are we talking about?
Well, I would say they're all in the same province, in time frame, probably from time I was 7 to, until 13, maybe 14.
And is this 60s? Hello. How would that have been in the 1960s or?
Yeah, it would be in the 60s. Probably all in the 60s.
What was your experience like in the schools? Was there any positive experience as well as negative, or?
My experience at the residential schools wasn't very positive. I was very abused in many ways, and in all the schools that I went to.
And that's kind of what we hear is pretty ubiquitous. I mean, it's kind of troubling to hear because the 60s is sort of the tail end of mandatory attendance. Things start to swing in the 70s. But, I mean, it's kind of troubling to hear that all that abuse is still going on just like 60 years ago. The government tries to play it off like it was all before and it sort of got better as it went on. But, I mean, in the 60s, obviously, it was still super prevalent.
Yeah, well, the abuse of indigenous people in general has never stopped, and it's still going on today. So, I mean, being governed by, to like the federal government and the provincial government, people don't seem to understand that Native people are governed more than any other citizen in Canada. And people think that we have a lot of rights. We don't have any rights, We're wards of the Queen, We're looked at in the Indian Act as non-civilized people, and that Indian Act still, is here today. So it never really stopped. The abuse of indigenous people haven't stopped at all. It goes way beyond and before the residential schools. It started way back then, and we still live it today. What I've experienced in residential schools, why I call myself a warrior is because I have to live with this every day. I'm reminded of it every day. So if I'm able to live and move forward in my life, I have to be a warrior. And the reason why I say warriors too is that everybody that didn't go to residential school are saying, they're victims of the residential school. They call, and when we call the residential school people residential school survivors, it's not empowering to our young people. But if you call these people residential school warriors, it empowers our young people. It gives them something to fight for. The other way, it's very negative. It creates all dysfunctional families in the community.
What do you think the biggest change has been from now to when you were first starting this 20 years ago? I mean, I'm only 40 myself. I was sort of coming of age 20 years ago. I mean, when I was 20, I didn't know a single thing about this. This is all stuff I've learned in the last couple of years myself, being Mishki-Gogaming First Nation. But, there was no sort of oral history for me to learn it from. I've been separated from my father. And there was nothing in the school system. Whereas now, at least my kids are learning about a little bit, enough to ask a couple of questions. At least, I mean, I don't always have the answers, but I'm wondering, like 20 years ago, it must have been in a lot of ways like beating your head against the wall.
Well, being an artist myself, I've worked towards truth and reconciliation in all my work. And trying to tell the stories without having to blame anybody, so that people would actually listen to what I have to say. But there are those roadblocks that we had in those days that are really going to change right now, is that they kept blocking our voices. I did a story where I was telling a story about my family where I was told that I had to change it in order for the white audience to understand, so the white audience can believe what I'm saying. So those kind of things is what made me, stop telling my stories in films and stop telling my stories and saying, if I can't tell my stories now, then I have to create something that these voices are going to grow, and that was from our young people. That is why I started Weengushk Film Institute, so that these people, the younger ones, had a voice, because people were breaking down all those bridges. People like Alanisa Bonswin, people like that, they were breaking down those bridges that were actually, they were broken, and they were mending these bridges so that our young people would have voices today. And my work, I felt, was with the young people. I never had resources growing up. I grew up in a residential school and had everything taken away from me. And so the only way that I could help with the truth and reconciliation is to help these young voices have a voice, so that people can hear and see their work.
And now it's growing into a festival. It must be, how many people now are how many people are actively in the Institute and making films? How many films have you guys released?
We don't release our films, and this is what other people don't understand about the Film Institute. I created the Film Institute using film as a tool. There are so many people out there that are dropouts, that are high risk and their own welfare, and they're trying to change their careers, and they're on drugs and alcohol. These are the people that I wanted to reach. And the only way that I could do it, from all my experience, was that the arts is the way to get to these people. And so I used film as a tool to teach them how to read, write, do math, budgeting, leadership skills, communication skills, everything that you need to have a strong lifestyle is through film. You learn all those skills making a film. And so that's what I understood about film, and that is what I wanted the young people to have when they come to my school. And a lot of them come and say, I'm going to make a film. But by the time they leave, they have a resume with 8 films on their back. And they also understand all of a sudden that, they have all these skills. And a lot of them would come, they don't know how to read, they don't know how to write. But when they go out those doors, they know how to read and write. So that's why I used film. And then I noticed that, these films were really actually quite interesting and really well done. And I thought, these films need to be seen. And that's why I started Weengushk International Film Festival, so that these films that these young people are making can be seen. And we have a program every year for them.
When you mentioned the abuse that's still happening now, like even today, what does that look like for people that don't know that it's still happening?
Well, people need to understand where we're actually coming from. And one of the courses that I created for at Weengushk is an online course called Indigenous Governance. If you don't know anything about my people, you need to take this course. It takes you back to the history and also explains everything about the Indian Act, about how people are governed in the reserves, and you'd be shocked. You'd be really shocked.
Yeah, and that's still happening today.
It's happening today, yeah. And where people are fighting to make changes. But, how many years have we been fighting, and we still have a hard time people listening to us.
Have you noticed a big change in the last 20 years, though, with the work you've done and the TRC coming out?
You think that you make an impact sometimes. When you do these things. Like my first show that I did called Pathways No Moccasins. It was a one-woman show where I've done maybe 300 performances around the world with this, and people were just like really shocked of the story that I was telling, and it was an autobiography. And it was very shocking to them. But even that just seemed to have gone away. Once you've done your performances, it goes away. So it never really reached, the schools. It didn't reach like other people that should have been reached with that play. And I'm not talking just about my play. There are other people who have written stuff about residential schools that never really, went beyond of what they created. They created an installation that lasted maybe a month, and then it's gone. So those things never really get the press that they really need.
Yeah, that's sort of my problem with like the apologies is it just sort of makes it seem like water under the bridge in some ways, but I suppose in other ways it maybe cements it in history so that it can't be overwashed too much as we move forward. But it's definitely, that is the concern, right? Is that it's just even now this year with the graves and stuff that have been found, that it's just like social media has sort of made it all so cheap, that it can all just sort of wash over, and next month or next year, everyone's sort of talking about something else.
Yeah, well, when the apologies happened, and then there were going to be these settlements that were going to happen, I had the worst settlement experience ever. and I'm thinking, I'm in my 60s. There are people that are older than me. Did they go through the same experience that I did? Because I really thought, what a horrible way to treat our elders that have all these stories to tell. And if they were treated the same way I was, I don't wish that on anybody.
Do you mean the actual process of getting the settlement from the government?
Yeah, when I went to court, when I went to the whatever they called it, I was there, with my lawyer and a couple of people, my supporters, and there was a lady who was asking all the questions, and then there was Indian Affairs that was there. But I was told by my lawyer, who I only talked to the night before my hearing, I was told by him that I would have all day to tell my story. And when I got to the thing, I was given maybe about 2 to 3 hours to tell my story, because she kept rushing me and telling me that she had to go to another city to go do another one of these hearings. And I didn't really get to tell my story. But the way I was treated was awful.
And
it was something that I would never wish on anybody to experience, because I had to re-experience a lot of what I already told them in my paperwork that I had to hand in. I had to re-experience everything, but I wasn't able to get to where I really needed to go with my story. They cut me off.
And I'd imagine that'd be worse for someone 15 or 20 years older you with maybe not as good of a grasp on English.
Yeah, it was. I said, if the elders were treated like this, I don't know if they were, but if I was treated this way, I can imagine what it was for the older people.
Do you look at some of those settlements and apologies as just being like hush money, I guess, in some ways? It's like now they can say it's dealt with, because I know that's one of the big things. Even when I was researching the stuff on the 60s scoop, like I think it was like the law firms got 19.75 million each, and then the average settlement was for a 60s scoop survivor was like 17,000 or something like that.
Yeah, I think the lawyers made a lot of money on these settlements, and I totally disagree with the way they treated us. I think that we should have been able to be given a chance to tell our stories the way we wanted to tell them, and not be forced to tell some things that were very, really, really hurtful, and God give us a chance not to be able to relive it again. Why did we have to relive all this stuff? And also, like, why didn't they just settle with everybody the same amount? They did it with the Japanese people, and they all got $250,000 or something like that. They all did, no matter what experience you had. Why didn't Canada treat the Indian people the same way?
Well, yeah.
If you had a little cut on your finger, you were given $100,000. But if you didn't have a cut on your body, you were given maybe 20. It doesn't make sense how it was all judged.
Do you think that we'll see an end to the Indian Act in the next, like, I guess in your lifetime, probably in the next 20 years? Like, do you think you've been at it for a few decades? Do you think there's any chance at getting rid of this legislation, and what does that even look like with the current the way the current government system is set up? where there's no real, I mean, and you probably know better than me, but there's not a real good unified sort of push.
I think that there's going to be, it's still going to be a lot of struggle within the next 20 years about the Indian Act. I don't think it's the people don't want to deal with it. The government doesn't want to deal with it. They keep putting it off. So I'm not a politician, so I don't really, know how long this process is going to take. I don't even think it's going to happen in my lifetime. I'm having troubles just, this whole thing about, 50-50, people that are married, get 50-50. That doesn't happen on the reserve.
Oh, you mean so if there's a divorce or something like that?
Yeah. People don't get 50-50. The women always lose out.
And yeah, that's problem with it's sort of, I just had my buddy Kyle here. He's Mohawk from Ganawage, and he was sort of talking about, I mean, out east, Quebec, it's sort of that same thing. He's part of the economic development team, and he was saying, we were talking about it the one night, and he figures that it's upwards of 50% of the kids on reserve are growing up with no father presence or no father figure and no support.
No, when you filed something with the with the government, and you file your will, you have to file your will with Indian Affairs. You can't file it with a lawyer. That doesn't give us any kind of rights. If the lawyer files it for you, you have to file it with Indian Affairs. And even with that, people wait years and years and years before Indian Affairs deals with their wills. So there's a lot of things that Indian people are going through that people do not know.
I know I'm fighting with
that's the reason why I started this program online, indigenous governance, so that people would, hopefully people would take the course and learn about my people.
Yeah, I'm fighting with Indian Affairs right now to try and for my daughter's citizenship, I guess, right now, because the way it's set up in Canada is the federal government sort of decides who's a member of a nation and who's not.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably about 2 years running. I mean, I've just handed it off to my band to take it the rest of the way now, because I kind of ran into a brick wall by myself.
Yeah, that's the way they deal with you.
If you could send one message out to our listeners now, kind of, where can they get that course? What's the URL?
It's a indigenous governance. It's at Weengushk Film Institute website. Oh
yeah, we'll make sure we link to that in the show notes so our audience can go and check that stuff out. So I mean, our audience is mostly US. There's quite a few Canadians there, but it's mostly US, but it's kind of a unique time right now where the entire world, for the first time, I've got people from all over the world right now sort of asking me questions about the indigenous experience in Canada, because everyone sort of thought everything was hunky dory. And, we've had a few things blow up this year on the international scene. And all of a sudden, the rest of the world is paying attention. Have you noticed anything from that global attention? And do you think, is there anything that can be capitalized on, or do you have any sort of message for that global audience?
Well, I mean, with the global audience, I think that, the people that really miss out on a lot of things that people need to really pay attention to are the grassroots people. They're the ones that get missed out and on things that happen worldwide. Like people that are trying to get more information will go to urban organizations to get information, when a lot of the stuff that really the real lifestyle of people are actually in the communities. And that was another reason why I chose to live on the reserve, is because I needed people to understand that you can do things even when you're on the reserve. You can still do things. I started on the DoBeDoBeDo theater group, when I was very young, and I was maybe 26 years old when I started the West Bay Children's Theater to introduce theater to the community here on the island, and then it grew into the DoBeDoBeDo theater group, where is an international, theater group now known all over the world. And when that was successful, I moved on to doing the Weengushk Film Institute, where you just have to keep going, let people know it doesn't just stop one place. You just keep going and going, until people start to recognize what you're doing, and people in your community know that they can actually have something to do, have some place to go with their lives. There's a lot of people in the community that feel like they're stuck, and this is where people need to put their energy towards, helping those people. The grassroots people are the people that need help. We don't have clean water in a lot of our communities. People have to drive hours and hours to get clean water in Quebec. So, those are the places that need the resources to make a brighter future for our young people.
How much of a difference have you seen? Because I kind of look at the internet and how powerful it is and the speeds now and how small it's made the world. And I often wonder, because I grew up opposite. I've been off reserve my whole life. I was born off reserve, and I've lived off reserve my entire time. I've been talking to my chief recently about maybe going back for a visit next year whenever COVID finally gets out of the way. But how much, so I often wonder if the internet is more of a help or a hindrance, because in some ways it opens up the world in a lot of ways. But on the other hand, social media is fucking destroying everybody's lives already, because we have this problem of looking at how much greener the grass is on the other side, and the people on the other side never seem to post their shitty pictures. So, we've got this, everyone's got this false thing going. And I'm wondering if the people on the reserve, if that makes it seem they're more trapped, or if the internet is opening it up in some ways.
Well, it's either or. But with my experience, a lot of people on the reserve don't have internet. They can't afford internet. They don't have computers. There's a lot of schools, that are supposed to be online. There's kids that don't even have computers or internet to have their online courses. So it's either or, and then there's people who are, on their cell phones all the time. But it's not a win situation for them. Even my school doesn't even have high speed. And we're trying to do all this work with, putting our work out there and everything. We don't have a high-speed internet at the school. When somebody's on Zoom, everybody's kind of like off the line.
Yeah, man. And so I guess, have you done much changing? Because one thing I noticed is that in the West, especially now that I'm out in Alberta, is there seems to be giant discrepancies sometimes between, like, for example, Susina out here is killing it. They seem to have a really good thing going up. They've got, I know a bunch of that's because the ring road went through there. They're on the corner of a city, so they've kind of got a geo advantage there. So I'm wondering, like, how much of a difference is this from reserve to reserve, and would there be any value in sort of a conglomerate? If like all the reserves had some, more of an affiliation instead of being set up as separate entities.
I think some have it good and some have it bad. That's all.
And that seems to be purely on like a geological basis, luck of the draw. Were you someplace where there was some resources or something else?
Yeah. And like we have a hard time even getting funding, just to keep our programs going. And Weengushk is in a warehouse, and it's freezing in the wintertime, but those kids keep coming, and we're trying to build a new school, but, it's hard to build a new school and when you don't get the support that you need. Because I think that, the government still thinks that we're incompetent of doing, good things.
Is that still where most of that funding is coming from right now, or is there any other channels?
All my funding, the reason why I think I survived is, from people supporting me, like the foundation and corporations. Those are the people that are supporting me. I have a hard time getting money from the government.
So it's mostly the private sector that steps up.
Yeah, the private people are the ones that actually help me out a lot.
Well, that's good to hear. I mean, that's kind of, when I finished my book, that was sort of my takeaway on it, is that, if we're going to wait for the government to do anything, it's sort of never going to happen. And it's going to have to be, like you said a few times, a grassroots where the people just figure it out, want to do better, start asking questions, and a lot of long, hard conversations.
Yeah.
Without getting triggered. I mean, I think that's the hardest thing. I mean, even nowadays, when you try to talk to some Canadians about things, is it's like you were talking about, you have to do it without any blame, because as soon as they start to feel a little bit blamed, the guards come up right away. And it's like, well, it was the church, it was this. And I'm not saying you did anything, you know what I mean? I'm just saying it happened.
Yeah.
Well, Shirley, before we wrap it up, do you have any social media accounts or anything other than the Film Institute website where people can come and check out what you're doing or make a donation or anything like that?
Well, they can donate through the Weengushk.com. That just making a donation there is really helpful, because a lot of my students cannot come up with their tuition fees. So we try to raise money for scholarships all the time.
And people can do that all the way through that web link. What's the average cost for a tuition?
The tuition for a 10-month program is $15,000.
Oh yeah, totally.
And we need to raise that money every year to try to get as many kids in there as possible.
Well, we'll make sure we share that URL with our audience and see if we can't get some of our. I mean, we've got some people in the private sector of Grimerica that have done quite well for themselves, and maybe if the government's not going to step up, some of those guys can step up and make a donation to the school.
That would be nice.
All right, Shirley. Well, we'll wrap this up. Do you have anything else you want to say before we let you go?
No, my family is just arriving here.
Okay, perfect. Well, we'll leave you to your family, and thanks for coming on the show.
All right, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, bye.
Right. And that was our chat with Shirley Cheechoo, kind of dealing with some. We're dealing with these gremlins again. As soon as we fire Skype back up, I could hear everything you're doing over there. I can hear you scratching your face. So he scratches his face. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Yeah, your gate is not working at all. Much worse in Skype than Zoom.
Huh.
And you know what? I really noticed it when you slid the mic across the desk. It sounded like the whole fucking studio was coming down.
Wow.
Anyway, what'd you think? We had to deal with some connection trouble, trying to do it over the cell phone in some spotty service areas. But
Yeah,
what'd you think?
good though. Yeah, I think it was good.
Yeah, it went pretty well, I think.
Yeah.
Big thanks to... Well, go ahead.
Thanks to you for sort of maintaining the whole thing, pretty much. I like it.
Yeah, you just sort of bailed
Appreciate
right
it.
out there. You just lean back and scratch your face. Well, big thanks to Shirley for coming on the show. Big thanks to you guys for listening. Big thanks to Graham for just making this awful hissing noise during the outro. Grimerica.ca/support if you can, when you can. Maybe we can buy Graham something, whatever the fuck is broken now. We love you guys. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.
Think if I sit here long enough, fixed to this green, brown, blue spot on Earth, approximately 2,000 years. Ain't no Domini, my hot drink would turn cold, my hot drink would turn cold, my hot drink would turn cold. Dream sequence, dream sequence, dream sequence. She'd eventually roll by on her bicycle, on her bicycle, on her bicycle. That's getting all green, brown, blue, green, brown, blue, green, brown, blue. Camouflage chameleon, baby. Woke up this morning, feeling around for my shoes. Think if I hired 1,000,000 monkeys and let them mash away on some typewriters, they'd eventually write all of Shakespeare's sonnets. Maybe then you'd love me, maybe then you'd love me. Me and my monkey, get funky. Go and get funky now. Get funky, get funky. Dream sequence, dream sequence, dream sequence. You'd eventually roll by on your bicycle, on your bicycle, on your bicycle. That's getting all green, brown, blue, green, brown, blue, green, brown, blue. Mother Nature's songbirds chirping. Woke up this morning, feeling around for my shoes. I love you up to the sky, 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 I love you up to the sky. Dream sequence, as you were counting sheep, I rolled by on some comic relief. I rolled by on a tricycle, on a tricycle, on a tricycle. That's getting all milk and honey, milk and honey, milk and honey. or not to be? That is the question, baby. Woke up this morning and all my blues was dead and gone.